हेलो एवरीवन, वेलकम बैक टू बायोवेंचर। कल हमने बॉटनिकल प्लांट सिस्टमैटिक्स में से टाइप्स ऑफ स्पेसिमेन डिस्कस किया था, जो कि वन ऑफ द इम्पॉर्टेंट टॉपिक है इन दी प्लांट सिस्टमैटिक्स। आज हम इसमें हिस्ट्री ऑफ प्लांट टैक्सोनॉमी टॉपिक डिस्कस करने जा रहे हैं। अगर आपने कल का वीडियो नहीं देखा, देन प्लीज़ क्लिक द लिंक in the description and firstly watch the yesterday's video so that you will get a proper understanding of the basic topic first, then move further. Okay, so I will suggest that please start from the basic then to advance to properly get the total understanding of the plant systematics of the botany section. Okay, so let's start the today's topic. So firstly, the today's topic is history of plant taxonomy. So what is plant taxonomy? Plant taxonomy is the science that finds, identifies, describes, classifies and names plants. It is one of the main branches of taxonomy, and plant taxonomy is closely allied to plant systematics. Okay, and there is no sharp boundary between the two. Okay, so this is the all basic you should know about the plant taxonomy. Now let's see the history of plant taxonomy. So let's see it one by one. So firstly, we are going to talk about the eras. Okay, from the ancient times to the late 20th century to present. Okay, so from the ancient times to the present. Okay, so we are going to discuss likewise. So firstly, in the ancient times, the here the early efforts was to categorize plants based on their uses, like medicinal use, edible use. Likewise, then the key figures or the scientists which have great impact here was the Theophrastus. Okay, so here the main scientist related to this ancient times is Theophrastus, which is often considered the father of botany. And the Theophrastus, okay, so who is the father of botany? The Theophrastus is the father of botany. Okay, and the Theophrastus classified plants based on their uses and habitats in his works in the Historia Plantarum and De Causis Plantarum. Okay, so now moving to the next era, which is the Middle Ages. Okay, so wait, I am going to take another color pen. So yeah, okay, so the next era is the Middle Ages. Okay, so in this the focus shifted on the herbalism and medicinal plants. Okay, and little scientific classifications occurred during this period. So there was little scientific classification. Okay, with the focus on the herbalism and medicinal plants in the Middle Ages. Okay, so the main scientist working here was Hildegard of Bingen. Okay, so in the 1098 to 1179 BC. Okay, so he firstly created the first comprehensive herbal based on the medieval knowledge and using plants for the medicinal purposes. So here also in this age or era, the focus was on the medicinal purposes. Okay, and the next era, which is the Renaissance era, is the renewed interest in the classical works and observation based studies of the plants, and an early attempt at the classification was made. Okay, so in this era the renewed interest in the classical works and observation based, so from this the scientists started to observe the plants and to study the plants, and there was early attempt, okay, for what, the classification of plants. So the scientist in the resonance era is the Leonhard Putz. Okay, so he wrote De Historia Stirpium. Okay, so he wrote De Historia Stirpium, which included, so in this there was illustrations and detailed descriptions of the plants, and his work laid the foundation for botanical classification. So who laid the foundation for botanical classification? The Leonhard Putz. Okay, so wait, I am highlighting this with this. Okay, so who laid the foundation for the botanical nomenclature? The Leonhard Putz. Okay, so moving to the next era, which is the 16th and 17th century. Here there was Renaissance. Botanists began classifying plants, okay, based on their structure, appearance, and medicinal uses. So from this, the scientists started classifying the plants based on their structure, appearances, and medicinal uses. Okay, and the main scientist working here was the John Ray in the 1627 to 1705 year. Then he considered the first modern taxonomist. So he is considered as the first modern taxonomist, and Ray categorized plants based on the morphological characteristics and defined genera. Okay, and he introduced the binomial nomenclature system. So who introduced the binomial nomenclature system? So the answer is John Ray. So likewise the questions appeared in the GATE exam. Okay, so now moving to the next scientist and the next era, which is the 18th century. So in the 18th century, so this is the century year of the Carl Linnaeus. So we all know the Carl Linnaeus. So here the systemic classification of plants begins with the more formalized and universal naming system. So universal naming system. So this is important. More formalized and universal naming system, and the Carl Linnaeus. Okay, so he is known as the father of modern taxonomy. Okay, so who is the father of modern taxonomy? The Carl Linnaeus is known as the father of modern taxonomy, and Linnaeus developed the binomial nomenclature system. So who developed the binomial nomenclature system? The answer is the Carl Linnaeus, and introduced the hierarchical classification like the kingdom, class, order, genus, and species. Likewise, so this is introduced by the Carl Linnaeus. So there is two major contributions by the Carl Linnaeus in the 18th century, that are, firstly, he developed the binomial nomenclature system, and Secondly, he introduced the hierarchical classification like kingdom to species. Okay, so up to the Carl Linnaeus, the plant were described as trinomial or etc. Likewise, there was not a proper way of naming a plant like done in the binomial nomenclature. For example, the neem plant, which is known as the Azadiracta indica, likewise. Okay, so this is all about the 18th century and the Carl Linnaeus. Okay, contribution by the Carl Linnaeus. Then moving further to the 19th century. So here in the 19th century we are going to discuss the contribution by the Charles Darwin in the 1809 to 1882. So Darwin, okay. So Darwin's theory of evolution influences plant taxonomy by introducing phylogeny and evolutionary relationships. So Darwin's theory of evolution influences plant taxonomy. So and introducing phylogeny and evolutionary relationships, and Darwin's on the origin of the species in the 1859 introduced evolutionary ideas that impacted taxonomy, focusing on the evolutionary relationships between the species. Okay. Now we are in the 20th century. Okay, so we are going to discuss the 20th century. In this, there was formalization of plant classification with the development of modern taxonomic methods and tools. So there was used of taxonomic methods and tools. Okay, so here there was major contribution by the Adolf Engler. We all know Engler and Prandtl classification system. Okay, so there was a major contribution by the Engler in the 1844 to the 1930. So he developed the Engler classification system, grouping plants based on the shared characteristics. So this is the contribution by the Adolf Engler in the early 20th century. Then moving to the mid 20th century. So here there was advances in the molecular biology and genetic analysis and revolutionized the plant taxonomy. Okay, so here the major contribution was by the Arthur Cronquist in the 1999 to 1992. Okay, so he developed the Cronquist system. Okay, he developed the Cronquist system, then which classified plants based on their evolutionary relationships. So and was widely used in the mid 20th century. So this Cronquist system was majorly and widely used in the 20th century by the Arthur Cronquist. And also there was the advances in the molecular biology and the genetic analysis which revolutionized the plant taxonomy here. Okay, and now we are seeing the late 20th century. Okay, wait. Now we are discussing the late 20th century to present. Okay, so to present. Here, the molecular and genomic approaches in plant taxonomy and phylogenetics and cladistic. Okay, so we are going to discuss these words like phylogenetic, cladistics in detail later in the upcoming videos. Okay, so don't panic here that suppose if you don't know the meaning of these words, then please don't get panic. We will discuss it in the upcoming videos. Okay, so here in the 20th century to the present, there was the molecular and genomic approaches in the plant taxonomy, phylogenetics and cladistic. Okay, so in this the angiosperm phylogenic group, which is the APG. So this APG group is not given by a single scientist, it is given by a group of scientists, or we can say the international group of scientists, the APG group, APG phylogeny group. Okay, so in this there was introduction, they introduced the molecular data and DNA sequencing into the plant taxonomy. Okay, so molecular data and the DNA sequencing into plant taxonomy, leading to the APG system of classification in the 1998, emphasizing evolutionary relationships. So this APG system, there is many more things to learn about this APG system, which is known as the recent advanced naming system used for the classification of plants. Okay, so there are up to today there are 4 volumes of the APG system given in the different years. The last 4th edition was given in the 2016. Okay, 2016. So today there is 2025. Okay, so the last so it was given in the 2016. Okay, and this is the most advanced. So this is the most advanced. Okay, so modern taxonomy now emphasizes the evolutionary relationships, that is cladistic, between the species rather than just their morphological traits. So we have seen that in the earlier eras or in the earlier period, there was more emphasis on the morphological traits, or we can say the medicinal values, or likewise. Okay, and as we move further, the emphasis moved to the evolutionary relationships. Then the there was use of the molecular data tools, or etc., likewise advanced tools in the taxonomy. Okay, so from here there is another topic. So this is all about the history of plant taxonomy. So today we have discussed the history of plant taxonomy. Hope you have understood this all very clearly, and there are questions seen in the exam related to this topic, and this is a basic topic, so you should know this very well to ace your all exams in the life science domain. Okay, so we have covered the history of plant taxonomy today. Hope you have enjoyed this lecture. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the BioVenture Gate Academy. Thank you so much.